So that sales skill until today is very important. So whenever people tell me they grow their business, I'm trying to think, how do they get those clients? So as a business or a networker or a insurance person, whatever sales capacity you are in, always be sowing seeds.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a special episode of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon collab with Ordinary Podcast. I'm Elton, the host of Ordinary, and Bob's here from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon podcast. And today we're going to actually talk about entrepreneurship. He has been talking to a lot of big entrepreneurs in the space. I think recently it was Mr. Money, even talking to Ong Kian Ming and also Freda and a lot more people. So today I just want to actually understand his entrepreneurship journey and also how did he come to running this podcast and his business. All right, Bob, welcome to the channel.
Yes, good to collaborate and finally do some content about myself.
Yeah. That's. I've always been very interested that he interviews people. What is his story? So, Bob, what's your story?
Where you want to start?
Let's start from the very start because I think out of university, let's say your first job, what was it?
Oh, that's very interesting. My first job was a writer, and then I went to advertising. So that's a good place to start. So back in university, I was studying marketing management in UTM. Shout out to UTM. But back then, even I was very interested in marketing. I was not just in marketing because you couldn't get your choice of what you want to study and then you study. I really wanted to study marketing because I was watching The Apprentice. So that time, The Apprentice was hosted by Donald Trump. So I was very interested in marketing. And I remember in university where even in my off time, I would go to MPH or Kinokuniya, whatever bookstore it is, and sit there to read marketing books. So I was not just studying marketing for the sake of it. I really love marketing, and one of the marketing gurus called Seth Godin, right? The world's #1 marketing author of many best-selling marketing books. I actually wrote him an email at that point. So I was not just a student of marketing, I was really living, breathing, and a big fan of it. And then back to your question, first job, after that, I started in the advertising world. My first job was in an advertising agency. And the advertising agency was a global agency at the time. And I started off as an account. Before, I was a writer for a few months. Then I went to become an exec in an advertising agency. And started my career for the first, I would say, 4 years is in advertising.
How did let's say you started in advertising, and what was the career progression that eventually led you to what you were doing today?
So it was always in advertising and marketing. I was, like I told you, very fiercely passionate about marketing. And I think one of the things, I told you, I wrote an email to Seth Godin, right? Even when I was a student, I wrote blogs, a marketing blog. That's how I got my first job, actually. I just emailed people my blog that time. I was not very good at that time, to be honest. I was a bad employee. Like I told Elton just now, I was a bad employee. Not very good at doing my job, but I was a very good thinker. I had all bright ideas, but I don't know how to execute. So one of the blogs I wrote last time was the comparison between the Western music industry and the Eastern music industry. So when it comes to the Western music industry, at that time, this one was like 2010.
Give away
14 years ago, anyway. So at that time, there was iTunes, and you could buy a song for 99 cents at that time. So it's buy one song. There's no YouTube, no Spotify yet. You buy a song for 99 cents, you can keep it forever. You can download.
If you don't like it, you burn your 99 cents.
Yeah, so you like it, you listen to your radio first, and then you buy it from the iTunes store at that time.
Okay.
So I compared it with the Eastern music industry. So that time, and even to now, in Taiwan, especially Taiwan, music industry earns a lot of money. They earn still from album sales. In Taiwan, I'm not sure if you know any Chinese artists. When they sell an album, it's not about the music. It's not a commodity. It's not that song. They sell you the whole experience of the artist. So when you go to a music store, you go to Popular. You see the album, the music section. You see the music album from a Taiwan artist. Can be J.J. Lin, can be Jay Chou, can be anyone. Eric Cho, can be Show Law. Their album comes with a photo album
Oh, yeah.
a photo album. Sometimes last time they come with keychain, even cupcakes. I have one album that had a sort of like a notebook as well. So they don't sell the commodity. So the Western, they sell the commodity, which is the one song, 99 cents, is whatever, you buy one song, you won't get rich. The Eastern one, they sell you, it's like 50 ringgit to 100 ringgit still, and then they sell you a piece of the artist. They sell you the experience of the artist, which is the album and the music. So even back then, I was very interested in these things. So I wrote blogs about these things. And even actually Seth Godin replied, he said, wow, good stuff. So I was always in this. I started my career in one of the award-winning advertising agencies. I learned a lot. Swam, it means, I sink and swim, and work with a lot of big brands. At that time, my first job, I worked with big brands like KFC, like Unilever, big brands like that. Second job also, I worked with big advertising agencies as well, big brands as well. And then eventually I worked with a company to become their in-house marketing. And from in-house, I had one stint in B2B sales, in-house marketing. So after that, it was about 10 years. And then after that, I sort of knew I was very good at what I do and was very confident if I stepped out. And even before I left my job totally, I already had clients on my hand. So that is how it built up today. And today I don't, Elton was just asking me whether I call myself a solopreneur, entrepreneur. I call myself a marketing consultant because in the end of the day, I help businesses with marketing.
Oh, that's very interesting. And how has that, do you recommend that people, like for me, I straight started on my own right after university. You did 10 years in, let's say, you call it corporate before coming out. What do you think is probably the better choice, or is there no such thing as the right choice? And
there's pros for both. There's pros for both. There's pros for both. So if you start straight away, of course, you enjoy better. I think having that 10 years helped me to think in a more structured way, helped me to navigate politics, helped me to manage people. For example, I have experience where I was working with a regional client and, got to go to Singapore to do a pitch. I got to travel because of work to different places when I was working. So if you're working by yourself straight away, you don't have these experiences. But if you ask me, would I start if I knew I could start straight away? I would as well. So it's no right or wrong. It's really up to you, right? You could, I know of entrepreneurs who have experiences in consulting or in startups. It does help. So there's no right or wrong. It really depends on what you want.
And I actually listened to one episode from Dato Munira.
Yeah.
And they talk about the entrepreneurship experience, like building a plane as you jump off a cliff, right? That was very, very interesting thought. What's your thought? Was that your process, your journey as an entrepreneur?
Not really. Okay, so it is in a way like that. So for example, you said Dr. Munira, right? Dr. Munira actually worked 20 years, we talked to her. She went to New York and then came back many years and worked with a large corporation as well. I would say, how would it be like jumping off a plane and building the plane while we fly? I wouldn't say so much. I would say sometimes you do feel that. Sometimes you. So I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs. So before we shot this, we shot with Nitesh, which is an entrepreneur. He said, couldn't make payroll, all these things. Yes, entrepreneurs, you need some battle scars. You suffered. I think the worst part where I suffered was COVID. You never know. You never know when during COVID, right? That much. I was telling my father, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to chill. I don't know. You want to do business, also cannot do, right? Right? You want to do business, also cannot. You can't go out, also cannot go. How to do business, right? I would say, does it feel like that? Yes, but I didn't jump off a cliff. Okay, I sort of didn't jump off a cliff. Okay, to be honest, when I quit my job, I actually, this is fun fact. I went and took my Grab certification that time. So I had the Grab driver app and actually earned some money from Grab. So I was like, okay, if this doesn't work out, then I'll be a gig economist. I will, if my marketing thing doesn't work out, then I'll be driving Grab, which I would think, I enjoy driving, it's not bad. I did drive for a few days, but fortunately didn't drive much because a lot of work came in. I think why is it different? Why I don't see it like that? Because I built a long runway, perhaps is the way I would say it. So fun fact, before I quit my job, the last year where I was working the hardest. I worked I work 16 hours per day. I think my employer knows that. I work very hard. Not for the company, not for the company, but to improve my own skills. So I think Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, really impressed on me a lot that time. So he said work hard, and I was saying I was looking at Gary V's content and the things he do when it comes to marketing. I said, wow, he's so good at marketing, and I'm in marketing. I'm not as good. So I'm like, yeah, I should learn all these things. So at that time, I work 8 hours, and then after that, so there's a cafe in TTD called Common Man, and people can testify to this. I after work go to a cafe and work another 4 hours for my real job, sending emails, all this. So I wanted to maximize. So I maximized what I could when it comes to influencer marketing. That's how today I can send emails and get guests on the podcast. It's through my experience through doing that. I did whatever I could through Facebook advertising. And it's not my money, so I had to do it. So it's not my money, right? It is the marketing budget of the company, right? So of course it's justified, but you can still experiment. You can do all the things you want to do without, like when now I'm an entrepreneur, I'm using my own money. I'm a bit careful. So when I was working there, I tried lookalike ads, retargeting, everything I tried. So I worked very hard in my last year of working. So before I left, I already had a handful of clients at hand. I already knew I was very good at what I do. Before I left, I was already creating content on LinkedIn. I had clients on hand already before I left. So when I left, after a few months, I already became super crazy. Already, I left my job with 5 clients, my first 5 clients, and I worked with those 5 clients for quite a long time. So it doesn't feel like I'm jumping off a cliff. I already have a plan set.
This is really the how to say, turn your 5 to 9 to your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Literally this.
Yes, but it feels different. And when I first started, my dreams were a bit different. My vision at that time, if you ask me if I had a vision board or vision, I basically just don't want to go to work in the office. My last work was a great work. I worked there for 3 years plus, but I was in a cubicle facing a wall. I really hated it. 8 hours. And then, I really love the work. Don't get me wrong. I love doing marketing. I love doing all the work I could do. When I had more autonomy, my boss trusted me, let me make decisions and recommendations, but I still don't like going to the same place to work every day.
The
so
monotony
when
of it,
that time was before COVID. So there was no work from home at that time. So I really envied when people tell me, they work from home. They work from home 5 days a week. I'm like, wow. That is my dream. So my dream at that time is just not to go to office to work if I work from home. Even if I work full time, if that time you told me, Bob, if you work for me full time, I'm in Singapore, you work for me, I would have taken it. I just don't want to go to work. I just want to work from home. That was my first initial goal where I started the business.
And in the marketing space, it changes so much. Like probably 10 years ago, how you did marketing and advertising compared to today. The ways they do marketing is so different. And I feel I've heard a lot of articles that say, marketing managers or directors are not able to adapt. Is that part of your entrepreneurship journey also, being able to adapt to the changes from last time to now?
Being able to adapt. Basically, you as a marketing person, I would say I have adapted. Okay, so my learning journey, I was very good when I left my job. I was very good at Facebook ads. I would say at that time advanced. And then my first role, one of my first long-term clients was actually a digital marketing training and coding academy. And when I was there, I was first initially helping them out with Facebook. And then I started to join their classes. I was teaching myself, join their classes. And I was very excited to learn. I sat in the SEO class. I learned everything. And also I taught most of the things as well at that time. So I eventually taught other things also. I sat in the Google AdWords class. I learned. So I think at that point of time, I was a very fast and very agile learner. I'm not sure if you want advice for marketing directors. I would say yes, you learn. For marketing, actually, it's like this. And I did say this to my students that time. You have to be a T-shaped marketer. So you have to have one thing that you are seriously good at. That at that time for me was Facebook, paid ads. and then you have everything else you know a bit and you know how to use. So you have something very deep at in case you need to leverage that skill, but overall you know everything else you know a bit and enough, so you know the overall strategy. So a lot of things I learned in Facebook ads I could apply to Google ads, I could apply to SEO, I could apply to, even today I'm doing LinkedIn now and I'm doing LinkedIn advertising. I can apply the things that I gained from the experience of Facebook ads. So you go deep on one thing. So most marketers either are very good at SEO or very good at TikTok, whatever it is, and then you can apply the rest of the things. Do learn and apply it across as well. So in the training academy I learned a lot of things and became a more holistic marketer, but I was still good at Facebook advertising, and then that's how I adapted.
And for entrepreneurship, it's not so much about just doing the work, right? Entrepreneurship is you do everything, especially when you start a business. You know, finance, you know, your operations, marketing side is all on you. How would you actually start on others? Let's say you're a marketing expert, but how would I know how to do my accounting, my finance, and all those kind of things?
Oh, you don't know. Until today, you hire people. You pay people to do it. Like I told you, I hire a good accountant. You ask me to do my balance sheet now, I don't know. Just hire people to do it.
When you started there was no, let's say it's someone who's cash strapped, because most entrepreneurs are, you know,
Still have to.
Okay,
if you want to spend time doing your own accounting, yes, please do so. But it's not too expensive. I think most accountants out there for a sole proprietor is about 2,000, 1,000 plus. Invest, or you can do it yourself. It's not many transactions. So I didn't learn to do it. I hired someone to do it, and someone who, when I looked for an accountant also, I needed someone who could advise, who could give me strategic advice.
Okay. And other than that, like the other side about entrepreneurship is, we think about it as very gung-ho people, or people who take risks, are always out there, like loudmouth, and also, you know, always sharing our ideas. Is that what entrepreneurship is, or for you?
I would say I don't shout out a lot. In the marketing space, I try to talk less, in fact, because there are a lot of gurus out there, and I don't like to, you know, call myself like LinkedIn guru or whatever. So when I say something, and you can see this in a lot of my content, or when I talk, right, I always say I don't ramble. I will say, this is my advice, and this is how to do it, and I reinforce the point. So I always because in my industry, it's really a conundrum, because a lot of marketing people out there talking very loud but cannot deliver.
That's very common.
Yeah, so even with the podcast in my LinkedIn account, I can grow it. This is evidence of the things I can do, and I can grow my clients' business, etc. These are things that I can deliver, and every time I talk, I try to back it up with things that I can do.
I see you're very tactful and thoughtful with your postings and everything. There's a structure to it, and everything is gives value everything. So talking about our podcast, it's going to be 100 episodes soon.
Maybe I think one thing I would like to share, being an entrepreneur, right? I think the hardest part is not doing the marketing. The hardest part, I think before, even when we were having lunch, I talked about this. The hardest part is BD, or getting sales. You can be very good at social media. You can be very good. Doesn't mean you get social media clients. You can be very good at video or whatever. So fun fact was, I actually, in my after my first 5 clients, I worked with a sales coach for 18 months.
Oh, okay.
I worked with a sales coach for 18 months. Learning how to do sales is oxygen. Learning how to BD, how to do sales is oxygen. If you cannot do that, like I see a lot of coaches, I see a lot of trainers, a lot of coaches, they are very good at what they do, which is training, coaching, or even marketing, but doesn't mean they can get clients in. So I worked with a sales coach for 18 months, and one of the things that I learned from him was very invaluable, was sending a link to someone. So in COVID was the first time I really looked outside of Malaysia for clients. I never imagined I send a PayPal link and someone will send thousands of dollars my way. So when it happened, it was very very unbelievable. So learning that sales skill, how to give a proposal, how to have that sales call, how to send the invoice, chase the invoice, get the money upfront.
Oh, okay.
is very important. So that would be before even talking about podcasting or anything. That sales skill, I would say all entrepreneurs, unless you have a product where it's hugely in demand. For example, if you're selling masks during pandemic, or you have a product that you just put it there and people come to you. Especially if you're doing services, you need to have that sales skill. Some companies don't need to do this. For example, if you're doing accounting or you're doing law, you're doing sort of like those type of things are compliance. So you don't really need to go and hunt for clients, because like for example, accounting, every business needs to do. COSEC, you say company registration, all this, every business needs to do. People will refer and people will come to you. For something like marketing or something like training or coaching, it is more like it is not a compliance thing. It's a good to have. So you need to BD away. You need to tell people they need to do this. So that sales skill until today is very important. So whenever people tell me they grow their business, I'm trying to think, how did they get those clients? Every time, like we were talking to Benjamin just now, every time he gets a speaking invitation, he'll say, how do you find out about me? Right? So you need to think, even when people tell me, oh, I have this, my agency have too many clients, I'm like, wow, how you get these clients? So I think about it, oh yeah, maybe through referrals, through connections, whatever it is. That sales skill, if you narrow down, you don't even need to do the work. So if you are good at that sales skill, whatever you do, whether it's marketing, social media, and video editing, whatever it is, you can outsource or you can train someone to do it. The sales part is where you cannot train. Or unless you hire someone super good. If that person can do sales for you, you have to either pay them very well or they will do it themselves.
That's a risk of them doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now it comes to the question, actually I'm very intrigued. How do you do your BD?
How do I do my BD?
Since you mentioned that's the oxygen.
How do I do my sales?
Yeah, for you.
I have 2 revenue sources now. As of now, I have something called LinkedIn Business Club, and that runs and that gets me recurring. That's a subscription. And then a lot of times, okay, so that's a good question. I constantly sow seeds. So as a business or a networker or a insurance person, whatever sales capacity you are in, always be sowing seeds. So you go to events, you exchange name cards, you send WhatsApp, you meet people for coffee, whatever you are doing. I call that sowing seeds. That means you are planting seeds and you are building that relationships. So a lot of times you see me on the podcast, I interview some guests. Actually, those a lot of seeds I'm sowing. Doesn't mean I'll read now. Doesn't mean that they'll become clients now or clients tomorrow or next year. But when the time comes, and if I want to, ask them, hey, would you like to collaborate on this? Would you like to see how I can help you on this? The time will come. So I'm constantly sowing seeds. And of course, in the meantime, I do post content on LinkedIn. Sometimes I get inquiries. I do my webinars every week, maybe twice, right? I do my webinars, very aggressive with that. And that gets me clients as well. So there's a lot of lead gen you can do. You can do events, you can do webinars. You can go to networking events. A lot of businesses, when they start out, they will go to BNI, right? Wake up at 5 a.m., go to BNI, and that gets you business. Don't get me wrong, that gets you business if that is that works for you. So you constantly, as my BD, I sow seeds. Whether I meet them at an event, have coffee with them, exchange name cards, talk to them, and then there are some that I'm trying to harvest the seeds. I meet them, I nurture them, cultivate them, and sometimes I harvest. So it all takes a long cycle. So in the meantime, you need to have webinars and things going on, content going on to get those leads. So it is most leads you need time to nurture and need time, especially of what I do is mostly B2B. I help businesses, so you need to constantly be sowing those seeds.
Wow, thank you so much for that. It's like a masterclass, 20-minute masterclass on how to go from entrepreneurship to, and what's the essentials in it. All right.
Do you sow seeds yourself? How do you sow seeds?
This is the seed that I'm sowing.
And then some more?
Okay, so I my podcast, I also run a podcast, Ordinary, and that's also sowing seeds. I mean, that's one way which I learned from you, actually. It's my takeaway from producing your podcast. But for me, it's a lot of, I like to meet with my friends. And what I do is I don't even pitch my service. I say, hey, if you know someone who needs something, just let me know. I can help them solve an issue, or I can connect them with someone. So in a sense, my friends think of me as the connector. Like, oh, their friends have an issue. They will ask me, hey, do you have someone who can solve this for them? And instantly it puts me on top of people's mind when it comes to, and when people come to me, if I can help them, I help them. And that's when I sell my business or whatever I do, my services for them. And if I can't, then I will definitely try my best to connect them with someone who can. So no matter how, the person who comes to me will get something out of this interaction with me.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I position my sewing.
Yeah. So yeah, what's the next question?
Actually, I want to talk about your LinkedIn next. So let's take a short break before we go into how you run your LinkedIn's, and because you're a LinkedIn expert actually, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So take a short break and we'll be back. So yeah, Bob, what's your plans for the future? What's next?
So as you know, we've been doing a lot of podcasts. One thing I want to grow is building this podcast as an asset. So there are not many business podcast channels out there. So I plan to be the one for Asia. So to build this as an asset and eventually transition to sort of like a media company, and have like a team of people
It's
doing
a
media.
new media prima.
No lah, no, I don't want to be that. Anyway, so at least one media. And build that channel, and eventually, so I see myself. Yes, now I'm doing agency work and helping a lot of companies with that. But next time, I want to be the channel. So instead of helping people to market, I want to help people to market through me, like sort of be the channel itself, whether it's through my LinkedIn. And I'm actually doing it right now, and talking to.
It's like Ryan Reynolds.
Sort of like influencer marketing sort of thing. Instead of being agency, so you constantly do work for the clients, you become the channel.
The channel itself.
So you can promote their things through the podcast or through your LinkedIn, whatever. So that is the next phase, and I plan to grow the podcast and of course grow the company as well to be able to support this media channel. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.